history in Phoenix, Arizona tonight, ladies and gentlemen. The Phoenix Suns have now won 18 consecutive games, the longest winning streak in the 54-year history of your Phoenix Suns. And it happened tonight as they defeat the Detroit Pistons by 11 points, 114 to 103. Yes, Matthew, the winning streak is now legal. It can buy cigarettes and porn.
Yeah, and actually, I feel like I spoke this into what was it? Existence, but what was it? 12 games where I was like, oh, it's a franchise record, but then they actually now have it.
They have it now, dude.
No, into existence. Sorry, I was thinking about the games. I'm like, I remember doing this. I think it was 12 games, and I'm just like, why did I say that? Now it's 18. Now it's official. This is something crazy, man. What a hard-fought win, man. You know these teams are going to go away. EJ brings it up all the time, so it's going to be a tough game. It's the 18th win in a row. This team wants to snap it, and too bad, man. The Suns are just that good, even without Devin Booker again.
Exactly. Starting Landry Shamet in his stead. The Phoenix Suns win. They with the 18th win in a row now moves them into a tie for the 11th longest winning streak of all time. Random question, Matthew. Do you know how many games the longest winning streak of all time is?
It's 33, right?
That's right.
The Boston Celtics, right?
Los Angeles Lakers.
Lakers, okay.
The 1971-72 Los Angeles Lakers won 33 games. The Golden State Warriors twice won 28, or it looks like once. It carried over on a couple seasons, and then it kind of goes down the list. But we are on that upper echelon of all-time longest winning streaks. I mean, we talked about it on the last pod. Just to not lose for the entire month of November is impressive. But now it started in October. We're now in December, and you have to appreciate these moments because, again, this winning streak is as long as total games they won when DeAndre Ayton was a rookie, man.
I know, and could you imagine that the night that we get 18 straight, there's another team that loses by 73 points? The biggest margin in NBA history.
Yes, we're gonna be talking about that at the back end of the pod and our thoughts because I had to bring that up, and I wanted to go over that box score.
Let's go over it.
But yeah, I mean, unbelievably, I wouldn't say overly impressive win had they carried over their first half 18-point lead into the second half and completely dominate. We probably would have said so, but when you look at the end score and you see they win by 11 points, you're like, okay, yeah, that's Phoenix Suns basketball. They did what they were supposed to do tonight against the Detroit Pistons. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Suns Jam Session podcast. I'm John. He's Matthew. John and Matthew Jam Session is what we're here to provide you with tonight. Make sure you follow me at Darth Voida on Twitter. You can follow Matthew on Twitter
at Matthew Lissy.
And you can follow the show at Suns Jam. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button while you're here. Subscribe as well. And if you want to become an elite Jamster, simply click the join button or follow the link in the description. And as always, if you are listening on a podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you are consuming this content. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review. We'll read it right here on the podcast. So, Matthew, tell me you're having a celebratory beer tonight.
I do. Do you have one?
I got myself a Budweiser.
You got one.
I went to the lobby and got a Budweiser. I'm like, tonight's the night. 18 in a row. I got to celebrate this.
Was it $10 for that?
Yeah, charge it to the game, player. Charge it to the game. So pop them if you got them, Suns fans. 18 in a row.
Oh, it might already be open. Oh, is that a bad omen?
Yeah, that's a bad omen. No, let's not go. Oh,
I screwed it all up.
18 straight for your Phoenix Suns. They are now 19-3 on the season. And it's funny, Matthew, because one of the things that we were doing on the podcast while we were in Vegas is, and it was kind of almost the mantra of you and me being in Vegas, is we kept saying, like, let's go. Let's go, right?
Let's go. Yeah.
And just so people aren't overly annoyed by that, the reason that we do that is we both listen to the Bill Simmons podcast pretty religiously. And every Friday he has Adam Schefter on, and they do their NFL
Adam
picks.
Scheffler?
Schefter.
I don't know.
And they do their picks, and Schefter typically just says, let's go a lot while we do it. So it's kind of become this mantra. And it's funny because I'm in Reno, Nevada, working in a restaurant, managing that restaurant until they find a new dining services director and until my building is complete in Scottsdale. And that's become the mantra of my serving team is we walk around all day just going, let's go. Like if somebody, is like, hey, I just punched in an order. Let's go. It's the most annoying shit ever. And we love it. And that's, those are the kind of things that, make you feel like a team, makes you and I feel like a team. And that's exactly what the Phoenix Suns did tonight. They were just, let's go. And all over.
Matthew, I got to ask.
I had to explain to the Jamsters why we've been saying that so much.
Okay.
But the question I have for you, Matthew, is, obviously the Phoenix Suns let an 18-point lead dissipate at halftime, and it got down to the point where it was tied. I mean, the Detroit Pistons in the third quarter put a 17-0 run on the Phoenix Suns, got back in the game. Are you worried at all, as we know the Phoenix Suns have to play the Warriors tomorrow night? Are you worried because they didn't get enough rest in the second half?
You know what this reminds me of is when you have a big day the next day and you have to get some sleep, and all you're doing is just laying there all night long and you cannot get any rest, right? Because you're so worried about the next day and what you have to get done. That's basically what it was tonight with the Suns worrying about the Warriors tomorrow. But then you think like, no, this is a different team, right? This is a different team. Well, we've asked this question many times where it's like, do they worry about the back-to-backs? I don't think they do. I really don't think they do. I think they just played a team where the Pistons that wanted to put up a fight. They went through a run, which always happens. I was actually really surprised it went back to 0, where actually their lead dissipated to 0, and it was a tie ball game. But then I'm like, I don't know. Are they going to take the lead? They didn't, which was crazy because I'm like, they're going to. That momentum, it just seemed like the Pistons, I didn't think they were going to win the game, but that momentum they had, I thought they would take the lead. And I just think the Suns right now, they don't worry about this stuff. They don't worry about the next game or that game. That's why they're on the 18-game win streak, because it's one game at a time, one possession at a time, which is cheesy as it seems. But that's the way Chris Paul plays, man. It's one possession at a time for him. And it doesn't care. He doesn't care if he plays 80 minutes tonight, if it's triple overtime, whatever. Just get the win. And then you move on to the next game. If you're tired, you're tired. Then you figure it out then.
Yeah, I think that we look at kind of how we analyze teams that are coming in to play Phoenix on the second night of a back-to-back. And when you sit there and let's just say, for example, you're writing the preview and the review of a game for brightsideofthesun.com. Quick shout out to brightsideofthesun.com. Go check them out. Great stuff. But when you're writing those previews, you're sitting there, you're like, the Suns are playing the Portland Trailblazers. They're coming off the second night of a back-to-back. It should be a fairly easy game for Phoenix because they're going to be tired. And what we always find is those teams typically are more engaged because they played the night before. So I know it might be some sick, twisted point of view for me to have, but when Detroit was coming back, Eddie was making a great point on the broadcast. He's like, teams like this know how to play from behind because they're always behind.
Yes.
So they know how to get back into games. They know how to keep fighting. The challenge that those teams have is they just don't know how to win yet. And we know what that looks like because that was the Suns for the past decade. But part of me was like, you know what? I'm okay with them pushing this team a little bit, especially with Devin Booker not present. You need to get more, see more of what the rotations can look like without him, as he'll be out for a little bit of time with the hamstring injury. So I wasn't opposed to it because I knew that this team had the capacity to, put him away. And ultimately, this game came down to those clutch time minutes, again, under 5 minutes, less than 5 or less points, with about 2:43 left in the game. The Pistons got it to within 5 points. And then the Suns were +6 from then on out. Cam Johnson hit a 3. McHale had a couple big shots, and the Suns ultimately put them away. And again, all that does is breed confidence in these guys who are going to have more opportunities and more shot attempts in the close games when Devin Booker is out. So I might be sick and twisted for being like, I didn't want them to blow them out by 30 because I don't think that rest thing really is a big deal going into another game. It's not like 5 minutes of play is not going to, we would have beat the Warriors tomorrow, but they got 5 extra minutes of playtime on Thursday night. Therefore, it done fucked us up.
Yeah, the only time it really does matter, I think, is if you go into double, triple overtime, something like that, something crazy like that. Then it matters. But if you're looking at what the Pistons were doing at the end of the game, they had wide open shots too, and they're just not the team to make them when it matters. You know, the Suns, of course, used to be that. Now it's just like you sit there as a Suns fan, you're just waiting, you're relaxing, you're waiting until DA rolls and he's wide open for the alley-oop, and you're waiting for Chris Paul to be left alone with no one there. Oh, there's a jump shot. You're waiting for Jay Crowder and Shamet now, who are just draining these threes in clutch time. That, you know, it's predictable. It's really predictable with this team. It's predictable just like in the past where you would play these teams. Like, oh, they're going to make that shot. They're going to make that shot. Oh, now the Suns are just making that shot every freaking time. That's why, and if you were just to ask me, was I scared, of course, that the game was tied? Not really. No. Because I wrote the recap and I wrote,
that's
18 game win streak.
You got history, bro.
It's history. And I wrote it right when the game started. I'm like, I just wrote it. I'm like, I'm not changing this. The Suns are gonna win this game. You just know they're gonna win.
It's so funny because we started this podcast in 2019 after the Suns, I believe, had won 19 games the previous season. And, you know, the reason behind us creating this podcast was we moved further apart, and we used to watch a bunch of Suns games together and sit and talk about the games. And once we moved apart, we're like, okay, we can't talk about the games as much. So let's kind of create a podcast and start talking about them. And, you know, the front end of you and I doing this podcast in that 2019 and 20 season was a very average team. And obviously the pandemic hit, the bubble began. Last season happened when we go all the way to the finals. And, you know, we've got to experience that in podcast form with our Jamsters who have been loyal listeners this entire time. And now we are here talking about another historic moment in the history of the Phoenix Suns with them winning 18 consecutive games. And it's just, you know, you saw it was going to be against the Pistons. So, you know, you got those little butterflies and it gave you the confidence, you know, in your case to, you can write out kind of the intro of that review on Brightside, because I mean you're playing the Pistons, and then the Suns came out and did what they did. I mean, you look how they played in the first half, and they shot 60.5% from the field in the first half. I mean, you go down the ledger, and it's 3 for 7 from the field from Mikal Bridges, 5 for 7 from DA, 2 from 5 from Chris Paul, 7 for 11 from Cam Payne, and we'll talk about him here in just a second. 5 for 6 for Cam Johnson, 3 for 4 for JaVale McGee, and like 0 for 2 for Crowder. But I mean, Cameron Payne really brought the energy and set the tone in the first half of this game that you knew you were going to miss with Devin Booker. I mean, that's who Devin Booker has been over this winning streak, is the tone setter. He's the guy who not only brings the energy, but also brings the points. And that was Cameron Payne coming off the bench tonight in that first half. Again, 7 of 11 from the field for 15 points in the first half. Matthew, what were your thoughts on Cameron Payne's first half and ultimately how he played this evening?
Oh, it was great. It was basically everything Elfrid Payton wasn't doing. I mean, Cameron Payne was. He was getting to the rim. He was finishing like he does his best. He gets the three-point line. He nails the threes. He hits the biggest threes. And still, we always mention it with his three-point shot, how I have confidence in him, but just the way he shoots the ball, it's kind of like, I don't know if this is actually going to go in. But he hit some big threes. He hit him and Mikal Bridges getting to the rim, their length. Like it's really under, I think even the way he is Payne, the way his length is in his arms, getting the ball up and under guys, it's kind of underestimated a little bit, I think, by the defense, because he can do that. Of course, he gets blocked. He always used to have those games where he'll get blocked, and the playoffs, he saw it a lot. He start the game, get a block shot, and then from then on, he was cruising. Right now, he's finding different ways to get the ball around the defenders at the rim and in the paint, and getting the ball moved around to his play or to his teammates. So he's doing everything that he's supposed to be doing. He's had some off games, but this is like the typical game where you want to see him play that well that early, where him and Cameron Johnson are just taking over 37 points combined from the two, or 27 points combined from the two of them in the first half. You want them to do that because you're thinking, hey, let's get the rest. Let's get these guys rested. But then, of course, it kind of just never ends up that way. But it's still just that mindset of just going into the game being like, let's just get these guys rest early and often this game to make sure that they are rested for tomorrow. We can take over and win it. But just that little boost, along with McGee, is all his team really needs to get the first team offense going, getting the rest of the guys going, except for Cameron Payne, even Ish Wainwright. When I said that, I can't even say his name. I can't even say his name. first real minutes early in the game for him.
Yeah.
What a stud out there walking around.
He had
he's
0
a
points,
stud, man.
but he was a +8 in the time that he played. So, you can't argue with that. But kind of to your point on campaign, he ended with 19 points. I mean, it was a 4-point second half for him. But again, he was a tone setter, and he was doing some of the things that we've been talking about on the podcast in the past. But they were falling this time. And Nikki Tan, one of our loyal listeners, going all the way back to when we were the Solar Report podcast and then the Suns Report podcast before we became the Suns Jam Session podcast, he reached out to us on Twitter. He says, Cam Payne has got to play with more control in this game. The paint is packed with bodies that will level him without even trying. It's either he gets an open run or he takes an outside shot. It's painful to watch him clank in the paint. And, then he asked us for our thoughts on that statement. So what are your thoughts on that? Because I feel like that was a half truth in this game, but it is something that we do see quite often from Cam Payne.
We do, but I think he just has, just like any shot he takes on the floor from three, from mid-range, he has a green light. Anything he takes into the paint, I guess he can draw the foul, but he's not really, he has his games hit or miss to where he can get to the free throw line. Most of the time, it does look kind of, it looks kind of just all over the place. It looks kind of like the way Cameron Johnson is sometimes getting to the rim, where it's just really, really like just a big mess down there. And he'll get the call sometimes, but mostly you see these games where he does get it going, where it is really effective. He gets into that groove and he knows where to hit off the backboard, how to use a gentle touch on the rim, the little finger roll, like things like that, where he'll get into the groove. So it's well worth it. I think all the attempts at the rim are well worth it. Sometimes they might look stupid, but that's the way he gets into the game. I think he needs that. He needs the aggression in there to get into his kind of game.
Yeah, that's what sets the rhythm for Cam Payne to make those outside shots, essentially. I mean, you see some players who do kind of – Chris Paul's a great example. He's a guy who kind of has this rhythm in his jump shot, and that's how he essentially makes the shot. Cam Payne does the same thing, but his is like, I'm going 100 miles an hour at the basket and trying to, do an off my left foot bank shot. But once a couple of those goes in, he feeds off the energy of the crowd, and then he starts to hit the outside shot. Again, looking at this evening, only 1 for 1 from deep in that first half. And, he finished the game. What did he shoot? 1 for 1 the whole game. I mean, so he was really focused on attacking in the paint, knowing that Devin Booker wasn't going to be in this game. So shout out to Coach Evan B in the chat. Check him out. He's got the He's on Fire podcast, a great podcast to watch on YouTube and consume his content. He says this is the longest win streak in NBA history for a team that was below 500 entering the win streak per ESPN. So obviously the Suns were 1-3 when this win streak began. They are now 19-3. And that one, we go back to the Harrison Barnes buzzer beater, but again, it's just great stat. Thank you for that, Evan. We really appreciate that.
Lights, Cameron, action.
Yeah, this was the Cam game, especially in that first half. As you mentioned, Cam Johnson ended the night with 19 points, much akin to Cameron Payne. So combined for 38 points off of the bench from those two, sprinkle in 10 points from JaVale McGee, and you have 48 points coming off your bench. But Cam Johnson, again, these are guys who have to step up in Devin Booker-less minutes, right? You have Cam Johnson who goes 7 for 11 from the field, 4 for 6 from deep. We finally had that super quality. I mean, we've had a lot of good Cameron Johnson 3-point games, but tonight, Matthew, he was great from 3.
Yeah, he hit when there was a tie game. Was it a tie game or 1 point when he hit the 3 in the corner to put them back up?
Yes.
There was a couple big threes in this game from him. But what I like the most is him and Mikal Bridges, and then also when there's Ayton in there too. So they were talking about how Booker's out and Cameron Johnson's in the game, but really Shamit's in for Booker at that time. So he's always in there towards the end of the game. And I think that him and Bridges are really feeding off of each other very, very well. Him and I think DeAndre Ayton they have like this, I don't know if I said it before, like a triangle offense kind of thing where they'll cut, they'll keep moving out to the corner. Mikal will cut. You saw towards the end of the game where Mikal will cut after Cameron Johnson goes to the corner, catches a pass from DeAndre, and then hits Mikal. And then Mikal just hits the jump shot. So they know each other's games so well now in clutch minutes that it just seems kind of easy. Sometimes when you watch this, you're like, okay, Cam, like, he's kind of like the guy, like he's kind of like a Sean Marion with the ball right now, right? Where he'll dribble it down the court. Sometimes he'll lose it. He'll try to do too much in between his dribbles in between the legs. Kind of seem like they're kind of junior high-ish. You know what I mean? Or just
it's like me doing it.
Yeah, it's just like whoop whoop, and then he passes it. It's like 1, 2, okay, then pass. So it just always seems like it's not really professional in a way, but you always kind of like, pass the ball up, Cam. But sometimes if he can gather himself like I am right now to slow down, just relax, Matthew, stop yelling and stop speeding it up. Once he does that, then he has guys cutting all over the place and he can hit them. They feed off each other very, very well. That's the one thing that I really notice and I want to keep seeing. So he'll obviously get those minutes. Don't put him in the starting lineup. Just leave him out there. Have him come in off the bench because he's in a sweet spot right now. I really think so.
No, agreed. Brandon Buford in the chat says, "How do you like them nachos, Charles Barkley?" It's so funny. If you watch the halftime show on Tuesday when we played the Warriors, Kenny actually brought Charles some nachos. And Charles's response were, the nachos in Phoenix are tasting great right now. So, but no, it was, I like what you said about the cutting, because that's one thing that I've noticed recently, and it was really effective today, is you're seeing a lot of both Cam and Mikal cutting a lot more. And I think that that's a big part of the evolution of this team, is something that's very, mid 2010s Warriors-esque that made them successful. They never stopped moving. When you had Steph and Clay out there constantly moving, it's hard on defenders, and it might not necessarily pay off in the first 3 quarters, but by the fourth quarter, you're getting wide open shots, or you're getting defenses that are trying to adjust to those wide open shots, which lead to other wide open guys. Couple that with the fact that Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges, who ended the night with 18 points, 8 of 14 from the field and 2 of 4 from deep. Couple that with the fact that they're knocking down their shots, this team becomes unguardable. They become lethal. And it's something that we've seen continually throughout this winning streak, is again, the different ways that the Suns can beat you. And tonight against the Detroit Pistons, that's one of the ways that they decided to beat you, was knowing that you don't have Devin Booker, knowing that it was a close game at the back end. It did hit the clutch time minutes with about 2:43 left in the game. That Cameron Johnson and Mikal Bridges, that's when they really went to high gear of like, listen, we're going to just cut across, and if we open up something for ourselves, great. If not, we'll open up something behind us. There'll be a void behind us. And a couple of those voids led to Mikal Bridges getting to the mid-range and hitting a couple soft jump shots that, like, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I know that in clutch time again tonight, it felt like every basket once again was dropping for the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, and that stat they threw up, I think it was NBA.com or something, where the Suns have like 5 of the top 6 players in clutch time right now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
For plus and minus. It's insane.
Chris Paul is a plus 46 in the clutch before tonight, and it was, I think, 6 points. So he should be a plus 52.
Do you think those 2 turnovers he had towards the end, I think it was before the 5-minute mark, he had 2 turnovers. Do you think that's on purpose?
And the key here,
just to make it harder?
No. Well, no? But the key here is, it wasn't clutch time minutes until 2:43 because it was outside of the 5 points. It has to be both 5 points and 5 minutes.
Okay.
And those turnovers happened with, the Suns were up by 6, the Suns were up by 8. Those turnovers ultimately let them into the game to get it to clutch time minutes, but it wasn't clutch time minutes once you hit 5 minutes. It was clutch time at about 2:43 once they cut it to 5. And from there, the Phoenix Suns outscored them. I think it was 10-4 to end the game. But again, I don't think that Chris Paul was out there doing that in an attempt to make his life a little bit harder. But you know what? When you get a win streak like this, stay humble, stay humble.
Payne, watch.
The man dude, Deandre Ayton. Gotta love him. Another performance tonight. His final box score, he ended with a total of 17 points and 12 rebounds. Only 1 on the offensive end, 7 for 11 from the field. Matthew, what'd you see from Big DA tonight?
Well, 13 and 9 in the first half from DA. So he finished 17 and 12. So all first half, but that's where, when he got his 11th point, is really, really noticed his shots and the selection. He's gathering the ball really quickly. So either if it's a Chris Paul pass or off a rebound, which he only had the 1 offensive rebound, but he gathers the ball in so quickly and goes straight to a move. So there was that one where he got his 11th point when Chris Paul, it was a short little pass and it was the top of the paint. And I mean, he quickly gathered it, did this quick little turnaround, which I've never seen. He's done the turnarounds, but this one was just super awkward. But it seemed like he was in such a groove with it, where he didn't even think about it. He just is like, I'm gonna get it, turn around, and I have this going for me right now during the season to where these are gonna drop for me. He's not thinking anything too much. He's not getting so sticky with the ball. Everything is just pretty much gather up, gather up, gather up. You know what I mean? Because we used to talk about stop putting the ball down, Da. Stop putting the ball down.
Yes.
When's the last time we said that?
That's a great point, man. I mean,
we don't say that anymore with them.
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, that was what I noticed, especially in the last game against the Warriors, and you saw it bleed over tonight, is the pace in which DA plays. Is how, yes, when he gets the ball and he recognizes where he's at, like his spatial awareness on the court is continuing to get better and better, because there's times where he does bring the ball down, but he knows once he gets the ball that he's got the time to do so and that there's no defenders around him outside of the defender who's on him. So he can either bring the ball down, hesitate, do a dribble, and then go into his move, or if he's catching it in the paint, he's keeping it up, turning quick and going in. And that's what we always had the issue with DA, was like, listen, in those situations where you're clogged in the paint, and let's face it, there's clogging in the paint because DA has a high gravity. The opposition knows that they need to be around him, because if you clog him and he brings it down quickly, you can swat at it. And that was an issue we'd always have with him. It's like, dude, stop trying to gather and go, just catch and float. And that's exactly what he's been doing is catch and floating. Now, again, you could have the same narrative that you've had in the past. As you mentioned, he had 13 points and 9 rebounds in the first half. He ended with the 18 and 11, I believe it was. Was that what I done said?
Yeah. 17, 11, 12.
18 and what am I looking at? Yeah, 17 and 12. So you could have the same narrative. It's like, well, why aren't they feeding him in the second half? Why aren't they feeding him in the second half? We just won a game by 11. So I'm going to trust that Monty Williams has a game plan to keep other players engaged. Obviously, there was the big run that happened in the third quarter in which the Detroit Pistons kind of laid it on the Phoenix Suns, and DA wasn't out there when that happened. I mean, he came in at the back end of it and kind of stopped the bleeding, but that's just what kind of happens. But I think that, again, DA is doing exactly what we need him to do as a big man, and he's showing his athleticism, his shot deterrent, his ability to hit jumpers, his ability to be quicker and make better decisions with the ball, right?
Yeah, and there's also one time during the game where DA did, I think he missed an alley-oop, or no, it was off, but he gathered it and laid it in, and he just made some comment to Chris Paul walking back to the timeout, and Chris Paul turns around, he just gives him like, yeah, what are you talking? All right, yeah, whatever. Like, that's just Chris Paul during the game, you know what I mean? It's just like, all right, I'll tell you what to do. Don't tell me that pass was off, all right? It was fine.
It's like a little brother thing. Like,
yeah,
listen, I don't need you to tell me what's going on, little brother, because I know what's going on, little brother. So, let's go. Leave me alone. So, interesting question. Or Mega Giants 89. He's talking to Crazy Luigi, who's another one of our jamsters who's watching along live. He says 2006/7 Suns versus 2001/22 Suns. Now, obviously, the 2006 and /7 Suns won 15 in a row at one point and won 17 in a row at one point. And now the Phoenix Suns of this year have the longest winning streak in Phoenix Suns history. If in some weird bubble, maybe in Orlando, you could put these two teams together playing each other, and you put them in a 7-game series, Matthew, who would you pick to actually win that?
Well, the team you trust, and that's this year's team, right? I mean, we went to the finals last year. That 2006-7 team that was coming back off of the year, a lot of success, but still you couldn't trust them with defense. And then it was just like, I don't know if I still trust this team. A lot of winning during the season, and then never picked to win anything in the playoffs, which was always true. This team, the Suns right now, you trust them. You trust them on all cylinders. They play defense, they play offense. They're mixed so well roster-wise that they were comparing them side by side. And the comparisons were just so weird because it's just like hit or miss. I mean, I get like the Ayton and Amari one a little bit, and like the leaders Steve Nash and Chris Paul, but everything else is just on our side right now. This year, it's better. It's much better. It's younger. It's better. It's going to be here for much longer. But yeah, head to head, I'm picking this Suns team for sure.
Isn't that crazy to think about though? Because obviously the 06-07 Suns, the 04-05 Suns, which actually have the best start in Phoenix Suns history. And we're just keeping pace with them right now because at this point, 22 games into the season, they were also 19-3. It's crazy to think that those legendary teams, we can sit here and you could say recency bias or not, but I'll tell you this, I'm a basketball fan. I've watched basketball for a long, long time, going all the way back to the 80s. Yes, I'm 39 and I remember basketball in 1988. So this team, to me, is a complete package. Now, what's interesting is if you look at the advanced stats of this current team, not including tonight, but what's available currently as we record this podcast on Thursday evening on NBA Advanced Stats, you look at their stats versus the 2006-7 team when it comes to net rating. They're both exactly 7.4 plus 7.4. So this team's got an offensive rating of 111 and a defensive rating of 103.6, which is second best in the league. The Phoenix Suns of 06-07, they had a 112.9 offensive rating and a 105.5 defensive rating, which it was fifth in the league back then. So, very similar kind of, they could beat you a lot of different ways. Here's why this team would win in a 7-game series. It's easy because D'Antoni used to fucking play 7 players, and by the end of a series, they would have been tired from the defensive pestering of this team's squad, and we would have won. So if it goes to 7 games, which I don't think it would, I think you go to 6 games and this team would have won. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, but is Nader healthy or not in that series? That's what I want to know. Is Monty going to play Nader?
It's a valid question. I really think that, the not playing Abdel Nader, even with Devin Booker out tonight, is something that should be commended to you there. Now, granted, he's got an injury on his right knee, and we want Abdel Nader obviously to be fine. But I'm fine with any moments that he's not out there on the court. The Detroit Pistons. I want to talk about them a little bit. One, what'd you think of those red jerseys?
Look good. Yeah, they were showing some camera angles underneath the basket, and I kept thinking that it was the Bucks. I was like, why are they showing stuff in the finals? Because it reminded me of the Bucks a little bit. The tint to the camera lens, it looked like it. But yeah, I love them, dude. I love what Detroit does with their jerseys usually.
Yeah, I thought it was a solid looking uniform. So props to them. Cade Cunningham looked really nice during spurts today. He's a rookie, so that's understandable. 19 points in the game, 8 for 15 from the field, but obviously it was the third quarter where he really was shining. He was 5 for 6 from the field in that third, had 12 points, and was the catalyst that led this team back. And I really enjoyed watching him play. The guy who I was super disappointed in was Killian Hayes on this team. I wasn't impressed in any way, shape, or form. And he's somebody who we were both pretty high on coming into the draft. We were hoping that the Phoenix Suns would take, if he fell to the Phoenix Suns, we would have taken him instead of Jalen Smith, who we ultimately took. But what do you think of some of the guys on this team, including Jeremy Grant, who ended with 34 points, 10 and 19 from the field?
Well, Jeremy Grant's just a bucket. And EJ was talking about before the game, it's like, why would you want to go to the Pistons to get more minutes? Are you happy now? And obviously, I don't think he is.
That's not getting all the points, none of the wins.
He is, and he's going to get all the points. Killian Hayes, though, to me, seems a little bit more selfish of a player than I thought he would be. He looked like he was looking for the 3 more than anything else. And that would drive me nuts because I thought he was more of a playmaker coming into the NBA than a shot maker. So that's what sucks. But Isaiah Stewart, and he's the one that wanted to fight LeBron, right?
Yes.
Is that the guy?
Yes. Well, that's why he has that cut under his eye.
Yes, yeah.
He's playing it like Lisa left eye.
Him and Ish Wainwright. It was funny because I was like, oh, is Ish gonna actually get some real minutes tonight? Because Ish Wainwright just walking around like a freaking stud, dude, like taking on I just thought it was
Ish has that like really wide, almost like Amari Stoudemire, Obi Toppin-esque kind of shoulder base.
He does. Yeah.
So when he walks, like he looks like a hard ass, and he looks like he wants to whoop some ass.
He just has a cool, funny look to him, man. Like it's just like a joke to him almost. But I love watching him out there tonight.
Yeah, Jeremy Grant, as you mentioned, he's a bucket. He is somebody who has phenomenal ability when it comes to scoring the basket. But as we mentioned on the last pod while we were previewing this game, if he's your number one scorer, you're not going to be a winning team just because, he is somebody who needs to be kind of a holistic player. He can play really good defense, but when you're so focused on scoring all that, he's not that superstar. He's not the guy who can do both. So you're going to either get a really good offensive performance or a really good defensive performance, and there's just not enough other scorers on this team to allow him to be that defensive player. So but I'd like to thank the Pistons for losing tonight and allowing the Suns to get to 18 wins. I'll tell you who I'm not going to give thanks to tonight. You ready for this? Little pissed off, John? Yeah. Fuck Bally Sports. How about that one? I'm just going to throw that.
What happened?
So,
you have the app or what?
So I have the app and I have it through my computer. I'm on the road. I'm not in Phoenix. I'm not in the market. So I get off of work tonight. I'm like, all right, sweet. Like I forget that the game starts at 6 o'clock Pacific time because that's what I'm at. So like I've got the Apple Watch, got that for the birthday. Thank you to my wife. And all my notifications are going off because when I get a Twitter notification, it hits my watch. So if you want to hit me up at Darth Vader right now, it'll bzz, and I'm seeing the notifications like, oh shit, the game started. I forgot. I'm an hour behind. So I got out after, like 45 minutes. So I missed probably the majority of the first half. I get to my hotel room and I turn on the app and it's like, due to something or other, you can't watch this game. Go to help.ballysports.com for assistance. I'm like, am I not going to be able to see like one of the most historic games in Phoenix Suns history? It's a bunch of crap. So I log onto my computer, get the same fucking message there. And then I was like, you know what? I know how to stream games. That might not be the most legal way, but I'm going there because I'm seeing this game, and that's how I got to watch this game. So that's just my little rant on Bally Sports. Fix your app, bros. Fix your app. Because I know that how many of our jamsters are out there trying to watch these games and they run into these issues all the time. It's a bunch of bullshit.
I saw it on Twitter too from Paul from Fan of the Flames was talking about something too. It is a little bit of a cheesy app. I mean, on my TV it works fine, but that's as much as I'll go into it. It gets the job done for me.
I like what Icon. Oh my God, Icon de Parfum says in our chat. Says Bally is the nadir of sports channels.
Yeah,
let's go.
Tries too hard and misses the layups. misses the easy stuff.
Oh man. I did want to talk kind of holistically just about how this team and this roster stepped up tonight. Outside of Jay Crowder, who scored 5 points, and Elfrid Payton and Ish Wainwright, Elfrid Payton got almost 10 minutes of playing time, didn't score any points, but everybody else had double figures. And again, it just goes to show you the power of this team, the resolve of this team, the ability to pick each other up when other people aren't there, a la your superstar Devin Booker. I mean, this just is one of the best basketball teams I've ever fucking seen.
Yeah, me too. And the main reason is because you come out in this game after beating the Warriors, and it's not a letdown. I know the Pistons came back and they tied it up, but just the way you start the game, you go up by 18 points into halftime. McGee's yelling, like the energy they have off the bench. It's insane how you can carry that over from such a high intensity game, which is one of the most watched games in the last 3 years against the Warriors. Then you proved a point. And it's like, okay, we're going to play the Pistons, let down. No, that's not the way this team is. That's the biggest thing, I think, for me. And it's just every player on there. You have Coach Book now on the sideline, just always telling people what to do, always looking at them, barking orders. So it's a nonstop thing for this team. No one really gives up. And I don't think they have really an inch to give up in the West. So it's a good thing that they play this way.
Yeah, I mean, they're just so competitive. And you hope that obviously that we see this fire continue. We're going to talk here momentarily about the Warriors game that's coming up tomorrow night. But, just a fantastic game again, 18 in a row for the Phoenix Suns. Dare I say, Matthew, let's go. Let's go.
Jam star of the game.
All right, Jamsters, if you're watching along live on YouTube, this is your opportunity to let us know in the chat who your Jam Star of the game is. And if you're listening along, you probably already know who it is, and you've already said it out loud to whoever you're sitting next to on an airplane flying back to Phoenix. So, Matthew, who are you going to give the Jam Star of the game to?
Every time we do this, I have to pull up the box score and look at the names. I'm just like, which one was it that stuck out to me? Because I just don't know going into this.
It's so
I really
tough.
Don't. It is tough.
I'll go first here.
You go first.
Obviously Cameron Payne's getting a lot of love in the chat. We got. Let's see here. You guys are typing so fast. It's just so hard to keep up. Carlos Johnson campaign. Mega Giants 89 campaign. Cam Johnson from Icon de Parfum. Walter Lazo likes DeAndre Ayton. Ish Wainwright for Fabio. The Cams from Scott Klaus. Cam Bloody Grill Payne. Yeah, Cam Payne took a shot in the face. That didn't look like it was fun. Cam Jam from Metal Mike. Payne, CP, Cam Johnson. Part of me really wants to give this to CP3 We haven't talked about him nearly enough tonight. 12 points, 12 assists, 4 for 7 from the field. And again, when the Detroit Pistons got the game back to within reach, it was CP3 who just, once again, I'm going to be in control, and you guys are all on a string, and I'm the puppeteer, and I'm going to put the ball where I want it to. And the best play of the game, in my opinion, is where he took it down in a fast break, kind of slowed it down, and the defenders all ran to people, and he was just standing there wide open for a 17-footer, and he's just like, fuck it, and he just drained it. So a big part of me wants to give it to CP3, but I've said my piece. I'm going to give it to the Cams, because I think that the pace that they set at the beginning of this game, knowing that Devin Booker's out, and then, of course, Cameron Johnson, what he did in that last 2 minutes and 43 seconds was just fantastic.
Yeah, someone even said Landry Shamet. He hit some big threes tonight too. So
yeah, you know what? I think he deserves a drop tonight, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All I can say is, Sham, wow.
Yeah, 14 points, 4 of 8 from deep, and starting in Devin Booker's stead. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's very good. The threes he was making though, where he was just standing still. EJ pointed it out too. Where it's like, just stand there. They'll hit you with the pass. It'll be perfect, and you just launch it from there. That's where he was hitting them. He always had a thing of going to the corner, like it was the old fadeaway Booker shot to win the game. That's the way Shamet was shooting threes. So it's like, chill out on those. I don't think he made one of those this year. And just sit there and wait. Like, get to your spot, they'll hit you, and that's where he made it. And then, but for my jam star, I wanted to give it to CP3, just because I think, like you said, the defense can't do anything with him. If you're a Pistons fan tonight and Chris Paul's bringing the ball up, kind of like a LeBron, it's like, what do you do to stop this guy? There's really nothing. I mean, of course, he can't drive to the rim and get any shot off, but he'll find somebody. He was whipping that ball around from side to side. Anywhere. Like, he was finding everybody, whether or not the ball went in. It was up to those players, because those shots were there. So Chris Paul for me was jam star. But yeah, go ahead with the Shamet.
I already dropped it.
Go ahead and drop it.
I already did.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
All I can say is, Sham, wow.
Deserves to.
he gets 2 of them. It's so good. We have somebody in the chat who asked, where can I get Matthew's background? And I just hit enter in the chat. That is a link that will take you to Craig A. Hamill's Redbubble page. You can get that on all kinds of stuff, whether you want shirts, posters, coffee cups, clocks, all kinds of stuff Redbubble does. Craig A. Hamill, shout out to him. He does a fantastic job relative to Phoenix Suns artwork, and all of his stuff is available on Redbubble. And you can check out the Suns Jam Session Redbubble page there too. We got a bunch of stuff there. So, obviously we have the next game that's right around the corner is tomorrow night. We are playing the Warriors once again, and it's a big one. It's an 8 p.m. start in Arizona on TNT. That's correct, right? It's on TNT again, or it's ESPN?
Yeah, they moved the Lakers. The Lakers, they said, get that out of here.
Yeah, nobody
get
wants
out of here,
to watch
Lakers.
the fucking Lakers.
Get out of here.
Fucking.
And then they put the Suns in 8 o'clock.
And is that ESPN or TNT?
TNT or ESPN.
ESPN, fantastic. Yeah. So huge game. It doesn't carry as much weight as the one on Tuesday, in my opinion, Matthew, and correct me if I'm wrong. Just because we were going for that 17th win against the Warriors, that tied the record at the time. This one, now we have the record. Like, is this a must win for Phoenix, or how do you look at this game, knowing that did they activate Klay Thompson for this game?
I saw something on Twitter saying, one word, Klay Thompson, right? So he must be coming back. I'm not for sure.
Yeah, let us know in the chat, Jamsters, because I've been working all day, and I heard that they brought him and I want to say, God, somebody else is coming off the injured list just for this game. Shout out to Ryan Cross real quick, $4.99 in the super chat. Says, you guys are great, Go Suns. We appreciate that, Ryan. We really do. Getting Matthew that Cam Johnson jersey is going to be a priority this Christmas, if we can get it, if you can ever buy a Valley jersey anywhere. Interesting how the Suns wore Valley jerseys twice in a row, huh?
Yeah, a little lazy, huh? It's such a big game against the Golden State Warriors. They were against the Pistons. I think it's just all they had, right? They forgot to do their laundry or something.
Yeah, they're like, oh shit. So yeah, Hey.0 says Iguodala. So it looks like, or is it Lee?
I don't think Thompson's back.
Regardless of who it is, there are going to be more players available for the Golden State Warriors. The Phoenix Suns will be without Devin Booker, and it's a big game for the Warriors. I feel, Matthew, that's a bigger game for the Warriors than it is the Suns now, right?
Yeah, this is kind of like a fun game. You got your franchise record win streak. You're going back up against the Warriors. If you win this game, then it does mean a lot. Because if you were watching ESPN, which I wasn't, but I saw little clips here and there, this game means something. Bill Simmons says this game did mean something. The streak maybe didn't, but then once you beat the Warriors to get 17, it means something. Right now, it doesn't, but if you do win, it kind of does, right? It kind of means like, okay, we can beat them 2 games or 2 out of 3 games. Well, for the Suns, 2 out of 3 games, but back-to-back games against the Warriors, that's huge. That's big because this is going to be one of the teams you're going to face in the playoffs, in a while. And it's still early in the season, but this is when the games start to kind of matter a little bit more and more and more to see where you are up against these guys. And I'm just going to enjoy this one. If the Suns lose, they lose. If they win, which they're probably going to win because I don't think they're ever going to lose again, then it's going to be even greater than the first one, I think.
Yeah, I don't feel it has nearly as much urgency for the Suns now. Obviously, you're on the road. Second night of back-to-back. We discussed that at the top end of the pod. Not the biggest concern for me. It's Damian Lee who's coming back. Damian Lee. I still don't think they have Wiseman. I still don't think they have Klay Thompson. So the Suns are still going to have the ability to score on the interior with both JaVale McGee and DeAndre Ayton. Obviously, the Warriors are going to make some adjustments. Based on what they saw on Tuesday, this is a team that is the second best team in the NBA, and they have pride, and they're going to be at home. They're going to have that crowd behind them, and you best believe that Steph Curry is going to look to get in a groove early because once he does, he becomes lights out. There's going to be a guy standing his way, and that is Defensive Player of the Year candidate Mikal Bridges, who got a lot of love. I was happy to see from the clips I saw, some of the national media outlets. Who was I watching literally on the elevator ride down to my car today?
Draymond was talking about it too. Draymond,
what'd he say?
He likes Mikal. He just said the Suns defensively as a whole is really good. And yeah, when I was watching the game, I noticed Mikal, of course, doing a great job pushing him spots and stuff, but I thought it was a good team effort, really, against
without
Steph.
a doubt.
So it has to be. You can't just have one guy against Steph.
Well,
so
again,
he was basically saying the team as a whole.
That was
really good.
That was my big thing. My observation of the last game was they were trying to switch Curry off, or Mikal off of Curry, and they were getting Cam Johnson, and Cam Johnson was doing a great job shutting him down. And DA had a possession or two where he shut down Curry. So I mean, it was a good team effort. Who just said this in the chat? Crazy Luigi said in the chat, he said, it would be incredible if Bridges shuts down Curry again. Yes, that would be fantastic. And I do like that a lot of the national media. God, who's the guy who annoys the shit out of me?
Stephen A?
All right. White version of Stephen A.
Oh, Skip Bayless?
Nope. Okay, not that bad.
Max Kellerman?
No, not Max Kellerman.
No.
Oh, the last guy.
Colin Cowherd?
Colin Cowherd. I was watching him today, and he was trashing the Lakers. He's like, the Suns are it for the next 5 years. The Lakers aren't. And now, obviously, those kind of takes are just that. They're takes. They're meant to give the Suns fans a little love, but to really just piss off the Los Angeles Laker fans,
More of that.
But at the same time, it's nice to hear people giving props to the Suns for their defense, because everybody was, just falling all over themselves when they were talking about the Warriors and the defense that they play, how they shut people down. It's like Phoenix is on this long win streak, and they're kind of playing some bad teams, so it doesn't really matter. It's like, no. Like, we watch these teams. We know exactly who this team is. They know who they are in the last 5 minutes, and they play defense all, for the majority of the game. So, it's going to be an interesting game. Like, I'm unbelievably excited to watch this one. Unfortunately, I won't be able to, because I'm literally going to be on a flight pretty much once it tips off. I think my flight leaves at 7:33, which is 8:33 Arizona time, and I will land like right at the end of the game. I'm pissed. I'm hoping they have TVs on the flight. Sometimes they do, and I can just like boop beep boop and watch this game. So, but I'll definitely join you for the podcast afterwards. But did you blow me? Did you blow me a kiss?
Yeah, I want you here. I want you here with me in the jam street.
Well, trust me, I want to be there, man. But I got to get home, man. I got to be
home for Christmas.
Scott Klaus says, shit, I may be working Christmas. He says, I'll be there for you in person. I guess he's going to be up in Golden State, so that's going to be
very cool.
Yeah, that's going to be great. So you're predicting a win for this one?
Yeah, I mean, why not? We can't just do a loss. Right, that'd be the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that the Suns win this one as well. I really think that the defense is going to step up. You're not going to have Jordan Poole do what he did and Otto Porter do what he did. And granted, that might be replaced by Steph Curry, but you know what? It's replaced. It's not in addition to. So, I think we both are going to give the nod to the Phoenix Suns in winning this game. So let's see. What else do I want to do? Let's go.
Jamsters react.
Jamsters react. Again, if you are an elite jamster, we go ahead and we put kind of some questions out there and says, hey, what do you want to talk about on the podcast? And the elite jamsters responded. And so we're going to bring up a topic for us to discuss just ever so briefly. Long John Silver 85, one of our elite jamsters, says, I've moved on from Thaddeus Young. What do you think about trading Nader and Sticks to get Torrey Craig back? I think that's the real missing piece. So, Matthew, I'll let you start off with this one.
That's a good name because that's a name that keeps coming up over and over again. And if you're going to replace him for Sticks and Nader, of course, that's a win. You want him back. He's like the one name that left, too. It's like, why did he leave? We want him back because what he did in the finals, everything. So he's the only name really that makes sense. As long as you're not giving up anything, it's fine. But, I mean, the way this team is, I mean, you could use those minutes, though, too. You never know. More injuries down the line. You can use some Torrey Craig. He's more effective than those two guys combined. So I'm all for it, John.
It would be fantastic if we get Torrey Craig back. He signed a 2-year, $10 million contract with the Indiana Pacers. So he's $5 million a year. So, I mean, you could trade Jalen Smith for him straight up. You want him not make the trade happen? Include Nader. They'd be like, fuck no, we don't want this guy. You look at what he's doing in Indiana so far this year. 24 games. He's played in all games for the Indiana Pacers coming off the bench. He's averaging 5.6 points, but, he's a bench player in limited minutes. So you take that and you put it with his per 36, and he's 12.5 in the per 36 and 7.6 rebounds. Only shooting 28% from three, which is easily his worst of his career. That's something that the Pacers probably, he's a 3-and-D guy, and he's not hitting the three right now. So you might have the opportunity, when you're allowed to do so, to maybe kick the tires on a trade like that. I think it just comes down to are the Indiana Pacers as interested in acquiring Jalen Smith and or Abdel Nader for Torrey Craig? I just don't see what's necessarily in it for them. You know what I mean?
No, nothing. It's probably never going to happen. Sorry.
Yeah. So, but it'd be nice. And again, thank you, Buck Dog. Who was that? Long John Silver 85.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Buck Dog.
Thank you for bringing that up. And again, if you want to have your questions answered right here on the pod, go ahead, become an Elite Jamster, hit the join button, or follow the link in the chat. Thoughts? Brains. So Matthew, you brought. I love our drops. I don't know. They're just for me. They make me laugh. So you brought it up a little bit earlier. I just wanted to touch on this briefly. We did have a historic night in more ways than one tonight. The Phoenix Suns obviously have set a franchise record with 18 consecutive wins. You also had a team lose by a total of 73 points. That is an all-time NBA ass kicking. The Memphis Grizzlies defeated the Oklahoma City Thunder by a score of 152-79. They beat them by 73, and this is clearly it's in regulation, that 152 points. But the Grizzlies scored 31 in the first quarter, 41 in the second, 41 in the third, and 39 in the fourth. Matthew, just kind of give me your thoughts on what the fuck happened in Memphis tonight.
Oh man, this is my thoughts right here. Just laughing. Like my friend Sam, who's an OKC fan,
that's right,
he texted me a screenshot. He's like, "Look at this score. It's all 70 points, and there was 10 minutes left in the game." I'm like, "Let's make it 100. Let's go to 100." Like it was possible. He's like, "Yeah, it's more possible than probably breaking it down to 50." So 73 points is awesome. I want to see 100 next time. It's just fun when your team is so good, and then your friend's team is just. I love watching OKC, but they're gonna have really bad games, and when he sends me that, I just was crying laughing, man. And I'm just enjoying writing the recap while the Suns are just destroying the Pistons in the first half.
I mean, this was a pure and utter waxing that the Thunder received, and this moves them to 6-16 on the year. Here are their 6 wins. You ready for this? They've beat the Spurs, the Pelicans, the Kings, the Rockets, and the Lakers twice. So that just lets you know how the Lakers are, man. So just real quick, I'm just going to go over the box score for people. Jaren Jackson Jr. led all scorers with 27. So that 152 that Memphis scored, it's not like it was led by like Kobe's 80 points. It was 27 points from Jaren Jackson Jr. They had 11 from Dylan Brooks, 9 from Steven Adams. They had 10 from Tyus Jones. They had 2 from Desmond Bane. That's their starters. Their bench, Jared Culver. Remember that guy?
Yes,
yeah. He had 11 points.
Absolutely.
DeAndre Melton had 19. John Conchar, I don't know who that is. He had 17. You had Xavier Tillman had 11. Killian Tilly had 6. You had Santi Aldama. He had 18, and then Brandon Clark had 11. So it was just like a consistent, just ass kicking that they put out there on Oklahoma City Thunder. They shot 62% of the field. They went 60 for 96. It's just, damn.
And it's not even, I don't hate them at all. It's just,
No.
it's funny. It's funny because everyone knows like OKC is just, they don't care right now. So they're just letting these guys develop. And I'm surprised the Suns didn't have that record. So, in the past.
Because I know we've gotten our ass kicked a couple times. So,
Yes.
well, we got about 5 minutes left, Matthew, and we don't have anything else
Do
to
it.
talk about, do we?
Childhood trauma.
Childhood trauma. So this is the part of the podcast where all the people who aren't, who don't give a shit, just leave. But it's the back end of the podcast, so we'll talk about a little childhood trauma. What kind of story should we share today, Matthew? What do you want to talk about?
I try to think of stories and I always go straight to taking a deuce. I think when I was little I did that a lot everywhere or something.
You're just a serial shitter everywhere.
No, you know what? I'll bring up your wife in one.
Okay.
My sister Shannon.
Oh, no.
So
Is this the booger wall?
no, you know what?
That'll be a good one.
That could
The
be a
booger
good-
wall will be
yeah.
epic.
I'll throw out the booger wall just since you brought it up because I'll probably
Okay.
forget about it.
This
So the
one's
booger wall-
nasty, Jamsters. Hold on to your seats.
I mean, it's very quick. Basically, the booger wall was. Dude, I can't get this out. So the booger wall was obviously a wall next to. I don't know why we're saying this stuff. Next to our bed in our old room, like 2 years ago. No, I'm just kidding. When we were like when we were super little, and it was where people would just wipe their stuff on. And my sister Shannon and my sister Christy, they used to give us a butter knife to just go and clean the wall off. And it was just plaster with boogers, the booger wall, get the boogers off with the with the butter knife.
So essentially what happens is there's a bedroom in the house where your sisters would sit there and just flick shit against the wall after they took it out of the orifices of their body, and then they'd hand you a butter knife and you'd have to clean it because you were the young
It was
brother.
combined from everybody, and
That's just
I remember
gross.
it was nasty. And I'm sorry, Jamsters, because these stories they should be more physical and just people getting beat up or something like that. But it's just a bunch of stuff that comes out of your body.
Well, it's just
It's all gross.
growing up, we all had like gross shit going on and around the house. I mean, kids are gross to begin with; they're slimy and such and snot, and I guess we're talking about boogers, so I guess I'll go down that route. So when I was
We
in,
lost everybody.
yeah, everybody's gone. Well, you know what? This is all
Peace
part
out.
of Nicholas Blankistan. Peace out. He's gone. He's like, I don't want to hear this shit anymore. So when I was in kindergarten, I remember I used to always get runny noses, right? And what I would do is I'd do this one like that, right? Like instead of blowing my nose, I'd be in class and I would just like wipe it on my hand and my arm and stuff. And what would happen is I would literally get like a brown nose because there'd be like crusty snot burgers on the tip of my nose and I wouldn't know. And like, again, little kids would laugh at me. If you notice on a lot of these childhood traumas, it's all my childhood stories of other kids just laughing at me. And I guess I was just a clown of sorts. And I would always have this little brown crusty nose. And my dad used to make fun of me, because he used to always call me a brown noser. And my dad used to always said that he's like, John, you're a con artist and you're going to end up in prison. He told me that.
Oh, Nice.
from the moment I was like a little kid. And Merle Haggard
Yeah.
has a song, and he goes, "I turned 21 in prison, doing life without parole." And my dad said that song was going to be about me. And he said part of it is I was a brown noser, and then I would come home with like a literal brown nose, and my dad would just laugh his ass off at me. My mom's like trying to pick it off me. I don't know what's going on, and he's just, you're going to end up in prison. I'm going to have to send you away. And he used to always threaten to send me away. He called it Villanova. And, Villanova is a college, a Jesuit college in Pennsylvania. But he also said it was like a male boarding school. And it like that's whenever he would threaten me with. And, like that's a scary thought when you're a little kid, you're 6 years old and, being taken away from your mom who you love and your dad who's making fun of you because you have a brown nose. He's just like, well, I'm sending you away to Villanova so you don't end up in prison. You don't want to be like that Merle Haggard song. I turned 21 in prison doing life without parole. My whole life, man. And I, as I grew older and my life has happened, I still give my dad shit about that. I'm like, still haven't been in prison yet, bud. He's like, yeah, I guess I would. It's like, I guess I was wrong.
Not over yet, though, John.
No, yeah, hey, stop. So, but there you go. Let's see. We got one right here. I can't even say that. Kanisanan. I fucked that name up, and I'm sorry. My little brother used to save his toenail clippings in a jar.
This is just becoming a disgusting part of the podcast. But maybe we move past that. I think I have a few in the back of my head for next time.
Good.
That I've
got some good pigeon stories from my dad being a pigeon racer. So we'll tell that
Let's get into
on the next podcast. So on that note, Jamsters, we appreciate you hanging out through the childhood trauma. We didn't lose too many people on that. I guess we all have fucked up childhoods. 20 every time. There's 20 people just like, I am not watching this shit anymore. But again, thank you for joining us and celebrating this 18th win in a row for the Phoenix Suns. You could have gone anywhere in the world. You decided to hang out right here with the Suns Jam Session podcast. So we appreciate that. Hit that thumbs up button down below on the YouTube channel. Subscribe, rate, and review if you're listening to the podcast. Follow me on Twitter at Darth Voida. Follow Matthew.
Matthew Lissy.
And follow the show at Suns Jam. We'll see you tomorrow live after the Phoenix Suns play the Golden State Warriors once again. We're shooting for 19 in a row. Let's go.
Let's go. Go home and love your family. Let's go.
Let's go. Home and love our family. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow, Jamsters. Cheers.